Does the iPhone 14 Pro Max have a better overall camera than the previous camera king, the S22 Ultra? Well, we have 32 tests ranging from outdoor, indoor, macro, zoom, ultra-wide video, action mode, raw, and so much more to find out. Starting off with our first outdoor shot here, they both looked very similar, but the 14 Pro was overall better. This bright red car actually had a more natural look on the iPhone. It was overly saturated on both, but less so on the iPhone. The iPhone also had sharper plans, and the background was also sharper, and same applies to the car's front grille. Next up, we have this outdoor HDR shot, and here, the Samsung was better in terms of the processing, so the sky was really blown out on the iPhone, but the iPhone was much sharper overall. So we have much more detail in the shadows, under the trees and the grass were noticeably sharper. And in this third outdoor shot, we have a similar story. So we do have, again, better processing in the sky on the Samsung, but the shadow detail is worse on the Samsung, and if you look at the tree on the right, the leaves on the top specifically are very noisy, they are blurry, whereas on the iPhone they are very sharp. So let's say that you're an amateur photographer and you want to take some raw photos to edit. Which one does it better? So the iPhone can shoot a pro raw photo in up to 48 megapixels, whereas on the Samsung this is capped to 12 instead of 108. And I used Expert RAW on the Samsung and the default camera app on the iPhone. I've edited the photos slightly on both just to make them look as good as possible, and here the iPhone easily wins. We have better dynamic range, we have less noise. Now the Samsung does appear sharper in some of the trees. There's no sharpening added to the iPhone, but overall the iPhone looks so much more detailed. And then we also tested the higher resolution mode. So on the Samsung you can take a full 108 megapixel photo, whereas on the iPhone of course you have 48 as the maximum mode. Now we had to use the Halide app to shoot in JPEG instead of RAW, just for fairness. The Samsung can only do JPEG and 108. And here the iPhone is significantly more detailed, especially when it comes to the edges of the image. Samsung is quite blurry, and this is quite interesting because the iPhone has less than half the resolution. So here it doesn't even compare. The iPhone is just shockingly good. Then we did some indoor tests to test the improvements of diffusion on the iPhone, and here I gotta say the S22 Ultra actually looks better. So we have more natural colors. If you take a look at the center of the image, there's more detail. But the Samsung is actually very blurry on the right-hand side, quite badly. However, in the second indoor shot, the iPhone is much better here. So if you take a look at the flooring, it is significantly sharper on the iPhone, and same applies to the bench. It has significantly more detail, and the seats on the right, and even the plants in the far distance, they're way more detail on the iPhone compared to the S22 Ultra. Both of these phones can do macro, and I gotta say both are really good at this. However, the iPhone 14 Pro was more detailed, but only around the center of the image. So the Samsung was actually sharper around the edges, so I would call this a tie. It depends on which style you prefer the most. Then we tested the zoom capabilities, and this really shocked me because you would all expect the Samsung to win here, but that wasn't necessarily the case. So we started off with 2x, and here the Samsung uses digital zoom, whereas the iPhone would simply use the middle 12 megapixel area of the 48 megapixel sensor. And because of that, it is quite a bit sharper on the iPhone if you take a look at the statue and the Oliver Cromwell text. Then we tested out 5x because the difference between 2x and 3x would have been too small. And with 5x, they would both use that 3x optical zoom lens and then punch in digitally. And here the iPhone had much more detail. If you take a look at the texture of the letter on the sign, it is quite a bit sharper and more detailed on the iPhone compared to the Samsung. And then of course we have to test that 10x optical zoom, which only the S22 Ultra has. And of course here, because of that dedicated optical zoom module, it smashes the iPhone. It is noticeably sharper, especially if you take a look at the roof. However, the 14 Pro actually did a very good job considering. And then we tested the ultra-wide module, and here, as you can probably tell, the Samsung has once again much better highlight retention if you take a look at the sky. The image is of course darker because of that, and we also have less detail in the shadows compared to the iPhone. But the iPhone is slightly sharper if you take a look at the grass texture and the trees. If we take a look at the second ultra-wide shot, we have a similar story. So the Samsung is darker but retains more highlight detail. The iPhone is sharper towards the bottom of the image, but then if you take a look at the middle of the image, the Samsung was actually sharper. So it seems like they both got their focus quite differently. And then we also tested the ultrawide indoors, once again to see that deep fusion do its work. And here, the Samsung was sharper. So if you take a look at the ceiling, there was less noise, there was also a better texture on Harry's jeans, and overall more detail if you zoom in the center. So yeah, overall it seems like the S22 Ultra actually has a better ultrawide than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. However, when it comes to video, as you probably know, the story is completely different. So here, they can both do 4K 60, the S22 Ultra can also do 8K 24, but of course we compared 8K 60 for fairness, and here it was significantly better on the iPhone. It was also more stable, and if you pause the video, you can tell how much sharper the iPhone really is compared to the S22 Ultra. Also, we had this really weird shake issue the first time we did a test on the S22 Ultra. Now, in terms of the ultrawide video, there was more shadow detail on the iPhone. The moire was more noticeable on the S22 Ultra, if you take a look at this texture here. But overall, it was quite a bit sharper on the S22 Ultra. However, the iPhone had less noise in the water. So here, I would say that they were both very similar with ups and downs on both sides. And then we tested action mode, which is something new on the iPhone. Samsung already had this. The iPhone could do it in 2.8K 60 frames per second compared to 1080p 60. This is basically just very stabilized video. And here it looks decent on the S22 Ultra, but the iPhone is simply perfect. Like, look at how stable the iPhone is. And it also follows the subject to a perfection. The Samsung had some issues here and there. So yeah, the iPhone does some incredible job with the new action mode. And they can both do cinematic mode, which is essentially portrait mode video. The Samsung in 1080p 30, the iPhone in 4K 30 now. And here, as you can probably tell, the Samsung lacks some serious detail. If you take a look at my facial hair, the colors were better on the iPhone. The iPhone was also more stable. The background separation was actually pretty decent on the Samsung, considering that it doesn't have a LiDAR module, but overall, if you want to do cinematic video, the iPhone is the way to go. More about a camera comparison right after this. Are you looking to level up your tech? Well, in that case, ESR has everything you need, with a variety of ideal accessories. We've talked about their Halo 3-in-1 wireless charger before, but I gotta say, it is truly a game changer, especially for your bedside. It is the fastest MagSafe charger for when you're watching video or using your phone, and alongside this, it is also perfect for charging your AirPods and your Apple Watch. With CryoBoost technology, your phone keeps cool when charging, and you can turn this off at night for a completely silent charge. Another favorite of ours is the Halo Kickstand wireless power bank, which allows you to top up your phone by simply snapping it onto the back, and also features a kickstand for you to prop it up when charging. It comes in either 5,000 or 10,000 mAh, and it is the perfect travel companion. ESR also offers a wide range of great cases for the iPhone 14, so you can check all of these out by using the links below. And now, back to the video. Then we tested portrait mode with a 3x module on a pet, in this case Ren, and here Samsung takes it easily. So for some reason, the iPhone only focused on Ren's nose. We did have some really nice gradual blur, which was very impressive on the iPhone. However, the Samsung had a much better overall portrait mode with perfect background blur, and if you take a look at Ren's individual hairs, they were even separated from the background, which was really impressive. And now we have a portrait mode of a person, me, and here, once again, the S22 Ultra is better. So we have a sharper image on both my face and the tree to my left. The background separation is just perfect, and if you zoom in, you can once again see the individual hair strands being separated from the background. So very impressive on the S22 Ultra. Okay, time to test out night mode, and we started off with an evening indoor shot. So this is similar to what you would take when it's getting dark and you just want to take some quick photos with your family. And we wanted to test to see how well deep fusion would work. And as you can tell, the iPhone's colors were a bit more accurate. The plant and the coffee on the right were also sharper on the iPhone. The floor was again sharper on the iPhone. But I would say the Samsung looked better just because it was cleaner and it had less noise. So Samsung is my preferred choice here, but the iPhone was sharper. Now, when it comes to actual night mode in a pretty dark environment here, they were both good, but the iPhone was more detailed. So if you take a look at the brickwork, there was a major difference in detail and sharpness on the iPhone compared to the S22 Ultra. In the second night mode shot, they were both very good. The iPhone looks overly processed. The S22 Ultra had much more natural detail, so to say. So it depends on your personal preference. Here, I would actually go with the S22 Ultra. Then we did one more nighttime shot, but this time we manually maxed out the timer, which was actually maxed out to 5 seconds on both, so that was the highest they could both go to. and the S22 Ultra was able to capture noticeably more light, as you can probably tell. But then the iPhone has more detail once you zoom in, but also more noise. So what about the zoom modules in low light? Well, here the S22 Ultra was better, so it was sharper and more detailed. So yeah, it takes a win here. But then in some of the other shots that we took, the iPhone was better. And that was because the Samsung actually used the main module to take the shot and then zoomed in digitally. And I haven't actually noticed this on the iPhone at all. It basically always used that 3x optical zoom module. Now, zooming in up to 10x at night, once again, the S22 Ultra was superior as it does have that dedicated 10x zoom module, and we had tons of detail. The only issue is that I had to keep it perfectly stable, like I took this so many times, and a lot of the times the footage was very shaky, blurry, and it even looked better on the iPhone because of that compared to the S22 Ultra. So as long as you have it stable, preferably on a tripod, the results would be very impressive. Then we tested the ultra-wide using night mode, and here, once again, just like the daytime shots, we had significantly more detail on the S22 Ultra. So the ground was sharper, the tree was sharper, the van was sharper, basically everything was sharper. So yeah, I gotta say the ultra-wide on the S22 Ultra is superior, not just in the daytime shots, but also in the nighttime shots. And then we also took a night mode portrait with that 3x module, and it turns out that the iPhone cannot actually use night mode for some reason when using the 3x lens and portrait mode. And here, it doesn't even compare. The Samsung easily takes this one because of the iPhone's limitation. But then when it comes to night mode video, it doesn't even compare. So it was significantly better on the iPhone, like, yeah, literally a night and day difference. The image was brighter, it was less noisy, it was also much sharper, there was also much more shadow detail. So yeah, on the iPhone, it looks as if it was coming from a dedicated camera compared to a smartphone like it looks from the S22 Ultra. Moving on to the front-facing camera, here, the iPhone 14 was sharper, but at the same time, it looks as if it processed that after taking the image. So overall, the image is a bit more pleasant on the S22 Ultra. That's thanks to that larger 40 megapixel sensor, so it looks less processed. That's my preference, but they're both really good here. When it comes to the front-facing video, I'll let you guys watch this first. Okay, so this is a front-facing video comparison between the iPhone 14 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. So let me know which one looks better, and then also which one sounds better. So this is the audio coming from the iPhone 14 Pro, and now this is the audio coming from the S22 Ultra. So yeah, let me know which one sounds and looks better. So to me, it looked like the image processing was better on the iPhone. We had much more highlight detail and the sky wasn't as blown out as on the Samsung. The iPhone was much more in focus, so the image was sharper, but then the audio was actually better on the S22 Ultra, so we had less background noise. Now, taking a front-facing camera portrait mode, this is how it looks like. It looks incredible on the Samsung, I gotta say. There's less post-processing, we have a cleaner image, we also have very good background separation if you take a look at my hair. So yeah, awesome job Samsung with portrait mode. And when it comes to nighttime using the front-facing camera, once again, it is better on the S22 Ultra. So it is brighter, sharper, we have less noise. And we also did a second take here, and here the iPhone really messed up. We had probably some harsh light touching the lens. This was the same on the Samsung, but the iPhone really messed it up. So yeah, front-facing camera, S22 Ultra takes this one. So in conclusion, I would say that if you care about just regular outdoor shots, they're both really good. So Samsung had better highlight separation, the iPhone had a sharper image. If you care about macro, again, they're both really good for different reasons. Night mode was good on both, and the night 3x zoom was also really good on both. However, the iPhone was quite a bit better than the Samsung in these following scenarios. So we had RAW, high resolution mode, indoor shots, it was sharper. Then at all the zoom ranges up until 10x, so 2x and 5x, 4K video and night video was significantly better. Action mode, cinematic mode, front video, basically everything that's video related was much better on the iPhone. So if you care about any of these, definitely go with the iPhone. However, if you care about 10x zoom, night zoom, ultra-wide including at night, portrait mode including night portrait, portrait mode front, the front-facing camera in daytime and nighttime, and overall better audio, then definitely go with the S22 Ultra. Oh, and by the way, the latest version of One UI 5 beta does actually improve the camera on the S22 Ultra by retaining more shadow detail. So the camera will be getting better with this new software update when that's out. But yeah, until then, definitely check out our 14 Pro versus 13 Pro camera comparison, and stay tuned for more iPhone 14 Pro videos, including videos on the Apple Watch Ultra and the AirPods Pro 2. I'm Daniel, Zen of Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zen of Tech, signing out. Cheers.